Let's go. Okay, so this is the regular council meeting held Monday, February 22nd, 2021. Just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded. The first item is adoption of the minutes. There's 3 sets of minutes: the Governance and Operations Committee meeting of February 8th, 2021, the public hearing of February 8th, 2021, and the regular council meeting of February 8th, 2021. The recommendation before you is to adopt all as circulated. And
So move, Eleanor.
Thank you. Do I have someone to second that motion? Councillor Doby. Is there any errors or omissions that anyone sees on the minutes?
No.
Being none? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against, if any? Carried. Thank you very much. Second public question period, and I don't believe we had anyone. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Ms. McIsaac.
I can see that we do have public participating and viewing this webinar. We have received a query from her via email over the weekend. It was related partly to bylaw enforcement matters, so I had referred the matter to bylaw enforcement to do a review of some property. I don't have an indication back yet from our bylaw enforcement officer around the state of the property in question, so I haven't yet been able to send a response to the public who's viewing today. I would hope to have that response prepared. A copy will be emailed to the person who has submitted the query, and copies provided to all of Mayor and Council at the time. And I do hope to be able to do that tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That said, we're moving on. Item number 3 is communications. This is the Trail and District Arts Council application for a liquor primary license. And Ms. McIsaac, I'll turn the floor over to you for an explanation.
Thank you, Your Worship. The city is in receipt of an application that the Trail and District Arts Council has submitted to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch for an event-driven liquor primary license. With respect to their operations at the Charles Bailey Theatre and the Muriel Griffiths Recital Room in the Greater Trail Community Centre at 1501 Cedar Avenue. Council is familiar with the liquor licensing regime, and that liquor licenses are issued by the Provincial Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch. But for certain applications, the local government is provided notice of the application. And in some cases, depending on the application type, we are required to collect the views of our residents and provide input back to the regulation branch with respect to the applications that are being considered. The case at hand, the Trail and District Arts Council have been providing alcoholic beverage service during their events at the venues within the community center over a course of many years in the lounge area. And they've been doing so under special event permits for liquor licensing. So each and every event that they are hosting where they want to have alcohol service, they make application to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch for a special event permit, and they commence with their service. They have found that process to be onerous, I'm sure, administratively, with the number of events that they host there. And so they have made application for a liquor primary license. Again, though, it would be event driven. They would only be providing alcohol service at around the times where venues the venue is in use for events. So just prior to an event, during the intermissions, and just following. If granted, the liquor primary license would allow the operations of the lounge within the center, and they wouldn't be required to apply for the special event permit each and every time. When council does consider this notification and input from neighboring residents, it's important that you be cognizant of some particulars that the licensing branch wants to hear from you. And in particular, they want you to consider the location of the establishment, the person capacity, the hours of liquor service, any impacts on the community if the application is approved. And in the resolution that you will pass, and we're recommending that you pass, there's certain elements that you must speak to there, and whether or not it's felt that this application and the granting of the license is in the community's interest, and the considerations that you gave in making your recommendation. We did provide notification out to all property owners and occupants within 50 meters of the community center, letting them know that council would be considering the recommendation going forward to the liquor and cannabis regulation branch at tonight's meeting. Notices were sent to 31 properties, and we have not received any concerns back in response to those notice letters. It is considered to be appropriately zoned. The property is in our downtown core. It's zoned institutional zone 1, and the element of the lounge, which operates as part of the community center's theater, is just an incidental use. It's certainly not the primary use of that facility. Any concerns around noise, parking were felt to be really negligible in terms of the location, as well as the availability of street parking. And so with that in mind, staff are recommending that you do support the license application. The resolution has been framed to meet the requirements of the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch. The comments that we would include is that the potential for noise may increase marginally as a result of the operations. However, being in the downtown core, there would be very limited disturbance to residential. With respect to impacts on the community, if permitted, again, it's in the downtown core and considered to be suitable for such an endorsement. And with respect to any positive impacts, it is felt that the establishment positively impacts our community by enhancing a social venue for residents and visitors, supporting growth in tourism, and creating jobs. And with that, there should not be any increase in criminal activity or damage to public or private property in the vicinity as a result of the liquor license that would be issued, recognizing that the proposed hours of service from 4 to 11 p.m. Wouldn't have much impact on police resources, and traffic wouldn't be impacted. So again, the recommendation is contained in the reporting before you, and it is being recommended that you support it.
Okay, do I have someone to make that recommendation? Councillor Jones, do I have someone to second? Councillor Butler. Councillor Dobie, you had your hand up for a question?
Yes, Ms. McIsaac, if I just could have some clarification. Just want to make sure that everything is kind of tickety-boo here. On the form that had been filled out, it indicated that the floor level that would be required would be the second and the third floor. And yet in the staff report, and I guess this is based on the information that they had from Nadine, it indicated that the operation of a lounge on the premises. So a lounge, I'm assuming, would just be on one floor. So was that just an error on their part, or is this going to be an upstairs, downstairs thing?
So the primary lounge within the facility is on the second floor.
Okay.
But the service area that they are including in their liquor license includes the lounge area, which is closest to the Selkirk College end of the building, includes the hallways, the theater, the Mariel Griffiths room, and upstairs areas. So they've included all of the area as part of their licensed area for consideration by the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch.
Okay, I kind of thought that, but thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Gattafoni Robinson?
On page 14 of 30, Michelle, it says the hours of liquor service as proposed from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. daily is supported.
That's correct. Again, no, it is event driven. So it would only be if there is an event happening in the facility at that time. So it wouldn't be that lounge would be operating on a daily basis from 4 to 11. But if there was an event going on within either the theater or the Muro Griffiths room within those hours, then they could provide the liquor service.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McIsaac, I had a question, page 19 of 30, request for endorsement of minors. I didn't see that we'd included an endorsement for minors in the recommendation, and it's probably a bit atypical that it would be included. Is there any commentary on that?
I think the intention of the Arts Council is that if there were minors wanting to go to the concession area to get, I don't know what their offerings are there, perhaps a bag of chips or a soda, that they would be able to do so without a parent present, which is contrary to typical licensed liquor primary venues. So I think that the intention is just to allow minors to access the concession where the liquor service is also happening.
But we don't have to put an endorsement of that nature in our wording?
My understanding is that the resolution as crafted meets the requirements. I can double check that and would follow up with the liquor and cannabis branch. But the guidelines that they provide us and that we follow closely in preparing the resolutions are in line with what they're suggesting. So
thank you very much. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against any? Carried. Thank you. Item number 4, bylaws, council indemnity bylaw number 2901 for adoption. And Ms. McIsaac, I'll just turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. This bylaw was given for second and third reading at the last regular council meeting. It is the bylaw that establishes the annual stipend that is paid to mayor and council. We typically do consider it on an annual basis, and the bylaw is being recommended for adoption. It would come into effect January 1st, 2021, so it is considered to be retroactive in setting the stipends paid to mayor and council for your service to the community.
Okay, do I have someone to make the motion?
Moved.
I'll second it then.
And Councillor, was that you, Councillor Kashoni? Who can?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, does anyone have any questions on this matter? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any? Carried. Thank you. Okay, council committee reports. Councillor Jones, you're first tonight. Oh, and you're muted.
That ends my report. No, I only have a couple of items to report tonight. I did attend the Trellan District Public Library Board meeting. Just a couple of items that I wanted to talk about. How well the library is doing once again. The library staff are very busy right now writing for grants and applying for grants because of some of the projects that they have envisioned in the year to come. So they're busy working on those. The virtual programming is being very well received. They have 23 different programs up and running, and at this time, 147 participants. During the time of COVID, they're still getting new members monthly. This month, they have had 34 new memberships. In-person count for the library was 2,929. Monthly physical circulation for January was 3,127 physical items left the building and 948 electronic items. so they're very busy and still doing some good programming, and people are, realizing that the library is open, and I just don't know how much more advertising that they can do, but I think they're doing the best that they can. February 20th, I participated in the Coldest Night of the Year fundraiser and helped raise over $30,000. Now this fundraiser was put on by the Community Development Center. And I'm sorry, I'm missing the other community group that was in on it. Maybe Michelle can help me. But they're fundraising for people experiencing homelessness and or people without a home, and they the money goes to provide some mental health assistance and maybe a warm meal, and it just felt like a good community thing to do. And I don't know if I mentioned that they did pass their goal. They made over $30,000. So that's really great to see. And it was great to see all the people out there participating in it. You could see them walking with their blue and yellow toques. And that's my report. Oh, no, actually, I did have one other question that I wanted to bring up. I've seen a couple of emails and had people talk to me about a dog park in Trail. So I just wanted to bring that item forward and see if there's ever been a discussion about it before. Yeah. And what did council think about that? It was an off-leash dog park. So I'm wondering if it's been discussed at this table, previously, or...
Did you want to make a recommendation for staff to advance a report on it so council could be brought up to speed in a formal way? Or Ms.
Sure, that would be great. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Thanks, Robert.
Did you have anything to add to that?
Well, we're just speaking.
No, hang on. I said, Ms. McIsaac, do you have anything to add?
I was just going to let Councillor Jones know that the idea of an off-leash dog park does come forward intermittently over the years. We haven't received a real strong push for it because when we consider our locations and the fact that an off-leash dog area would be required to be fenced, we haven't chosen or there hasn't been a need identified to choose a particular park location, considering that all along the foreshore, kind of from Gyro Park down below the bridges, is heavily utilized for people walking their dogs off leash. And there's also some off-leash areas out by the airport and on some of the trails that are managed by the Trail Society. So with that and recognizing kind of budgetary constraints, the idea of a fenced off-leash dog park hasn't risen amongst the priorities and the Parks and Rec side of things.
Thank you.
And Colleen, that said, do you need something more formal than that?
Well, having said that, I wonder if there's an opportunity to have maybe on our website, maps of where the dog parks are, because I don't know if it's really marked down by the river. People are just looking for a place to be able to let their dogs off without other people complaining.
I don't know that we actually have any trail maps produced by the city that we could utilize to utilize and modify to include the off-leash dog areas. I could ask if there's, the consensus of council. I could ask engineering if some mapping could be prepared. But at this point, most of our maps that talk to trail structures and facilities are produced independently of the city.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Dobie.
I just want to point out that the park area that's attached to the Community Learning Center, the old Laura J. Morris School area, is pretty well all fenced in, and there isn't a day goes by that I don't see people down there with their dogs off leash, and I'm one of them included, and throwing balls. So it's already a park that's being utilized. Maybe it's one that we want to look into and see if we can make it more formal. I'd say that it's probably about 90% fenced off. There's just a very small area that would have to be contained.
Do we own that park?
That's
That's the school?
No,
district
the school
property.
district. Yeah. But you know what? The school district doesn't use it. Nobody uses that park. There's a group of young fellows. They get together in the summer and they come down and play rugby. It's not an organized group. It's just a bunch of fellows get together and play rugby. And the only other people that use it is the, now I never get the pronunciation of that school correct. Is it the French school, the daycare center down in that area? Yeah, every once in a while, not so much in the winter, you see them take the little toddlers over there and they get to kick balls and stuff, but the park is hardly ever used. There's nobody there. And the school doesn't use it at all. I've never seen students out in that park.
Okay, Ms. McIsaac.
Irrespective of their current usage, the city did gift that land to the school district when the facility was being constructed. And all maintenance responsibilities lay with the school district. So if council is wanting to entertain a dog park there, we would be requesting of the school district to not only allow us the use of that space back, but would be taking on maintenance responsibilities as well.
Yeah, there would be maintenance and a little bit of fencing, but what they probably don't realize is that it's getting used for, open leash running already.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for staff to prepare a report on this when time allows. And do I have any other questions on this matter? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against, if any? Carried. Councillor Butler, were you against or for? For? You're on mute.
Against.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Butler, you are up for reports, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing major to report except that I'd like to definitely recognize the Trail Civic Striders and their efforts with the coldest night of the year, and also hearing Councillor Jones was out as well. It was wonderful to hear, and I think the last time I checked online, it was at 122 or 23% of the target for the trail area, which was really nice to see. So that, and just on the business side of things, I am getting back into the swing of things, which is nice, and was able to attend the Chamber of Commerce meeting as the city liaison last week. Nothing major to report, but it is nice to get back into hearing what the Chamber is doing in our community.
Great.
Well, I guess actually Chamber Week is what they're doing. So just a shout out to Chamber Week. There we go. Thank you.
Any questions for Councillor Butler? Seeing none, thank you very much. Councillor Dobie.
Hey, I've had no meetings to attend, but I did receive a call from Gina Ironmonger. She just wanted to talk about where she's going. She's running on all full cylinders and moving ahead and hoping to get the summer market going again. And she's also starting to look at a winter market for next year. And I'm guessing, she didn't say anything to me, but I'm guessing that once she hears that the old library space becomes more usable, she might be interested in looking at that area. And I think it would be great if we could have a winter market. So that concludes my report.
Okay. Any questions for Councillor Dobie? Seeing none, thank you very much. Councillor Kashoni, he seems to have left. Councillor Butler, did you have your hand up? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick question for Councillor Dobie. Councillor Dobie, did Gina make any mention of where the winter market could possibly be held?
No, what I had just said was she didn't say anything to me, but I don't think it's going to take her too long once she realizes that the City of Trail is looking to do some upgrades to the old library space, that she would love to have a space. And that would be certainly a good location for the winter market if it's feasible, if it works out for both the city and her.
Yeah, it'd be wonderful to have a year-round market.
Yes, it would. And there's a lot of interest from the different vendors too. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Kashoni seems to have left the video screen. So Councillor Gattafoni Robinson.
I'm there. I'm there.
Okay, well, I'm looking at the back of your chair.
Not
quite sure what happened there.
Robert fell down.
Well, I can still give the report.
Sure.
I think you reversed your camera accidentally, Robert.
How do I do that? How do I go back to it?
Stand on your head.
So maybe Councillor Kashoni, what we'll do is I'll just to give you a little bit of a minute to try to switch your camera around. We'll just continue the reports and I'll switch back to you at the end. So Councillor Gattafoni Robinson, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, I have. We had a Historical Society meeting and the January minutes are on the reading file. And we formed some new committees. One of the new committees is because of the article in the Trail paper about the old Trail Bridge, which was very, very interesting to everybody. And a few of the new board members are stepping up to the plate and they're going to be investigating just to see the possibilities of making it a heritage site and other things. I told them to go on our website and they could get a lot of information. And that's the end of my report, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Gattafoni Robinson? Councillor Santori, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just want to report out on the GOC that took place earlier today. First of all, we had a delegation, Sheila Adcock, as well as Mike Wasindowicz from the RCMP and Sheila Adcock from the Career Development Services. They did an excellent job in providing us with an update on the homelessness support and some of the initiatives that they have undertaken, as well as some of the challenges that they face currently and will continue to be faced as we move forward. I think it gave council an opportunity to ask a lot of questions and hence result in pretty good communication for those that decide to tune in on that council meeting. You know, I mean, obviously their goal is to deal with the most vulnerable in our community and to take whatever steps they can to help them to minimize the impact on their personal lives, but as well as, but at the same time, protect the public safety in our community. The second item was that the City of Trail awarded a contract to IRC Building Sciences Group in the amount of $37,100. This was a direct contract order, and it was to be the construction managers for roof replacements on the, I guess we'd call it the north end or west end of the Trail Memorial Center, as well as the Trail Aquatic and Leisure Center. There was also discussion on Butler Park, and this was in response to the delegation that came forth on January the 25th about having the park open this summer, given the fact that because of the storm knocking down a pole and then finding out that all of the poles needed to come down along with the netting. Staff provided a report, and I'm very pleased to say that staff did work with the group, and with a couple of minor changes have ensured that we will have a baseball season. And I do want to extend a thanks to staff for the work that they did, and thank them for their patience earlier today. The Trail Airport, the corporate administrator has been authorized to enter into license of occupation agreements with the various owners of the hangars at the airport. And the last item was a direct award in the amount of $29,550 to eSolutions, and that is to complete the website enhancement project. There were a few other items on the GOC, which will reconvene after the regular council meeting, and I'll report those out with my GOC report at the next council meeting 2 weeks from today. And those conclude my reports, but I also want to bring something up to council at this point, or I can bring it up under new business. Would you rather I did that? It's not related to any reports, Your Worship.
Probably bring it under new business, please.
Okay, thanks. That concludes my report.
Questions for Councillor Santori? Seeing none, Councillor Kashoni, you have the floor.
I can't. I got back now. That's good. So this report will cover the meetings of all the decisions from February the 10th utilities meeting, February 10th board meeting, and the February 16th East End meeting. Remember last meeting I told you that they had made a bunch of changes on the budgets, and so this brings us up to date. So it's a little bit lengthy, but not as lengthy as other things. The budget process has been slow because of the budgets have been reviewed 3 times. The original budgets that came out were built on the policy that was neither presented to nor debated nor approved by the board. Consequently, all the budgets had to be redone and go back to the way the budgets have been done for the last 20 plus years. Original budgets sent out added tens of thousands of additional costs in 2021 and hundreds of thousands of additional costs in the 2022 to 2025 5-year plan. Those are available for you to see, and they raised a great deal of concern for many directors. When the issue was raised, somehow the plan and the budgets based on the proposed policy were dropped, and administration went back to the original budget process. For this, I am thankful because it saved the city a substantial amount of money. I provide this background information so it'll be easy to understand what the problem was and that the budget process would have to be corrected. In 2019, the regional district budget was lower than it was in 2018, and in 2019, the entire budget went up 39,000 or .88, which is therefore an average of .44. Earlier in January, I began to notice the budgets were increasing at the 5.2% rate, and one budget was up 44%. Earlier in this one was emergency services, which had over a 40,000 increase in administrative fees. After investigating and speaking with other directors and understanding how the budgets have changed, directors in general expressed concerns, and this concern contributed to the reversal of the policy that added additional administrative costs, not only to the region-wide services, but specifically to the East End services and the sewer services, which Trail is a part. Although representing only 1/13 of the regional district, the City of Trail pays 22.1% of all the cost of shared services across the district. Further, in the East End, we pay 41.6% of the East End services in 2020, and it may be slightly lower in 2021 due to the increased assessments in Area A, which is Ali Greaves area. We will pay, however, on average 40% of the service. In the sewer function, which is described as a 700 service, which has 4 members, we pay 69.30% of all the costs. So when you look at this, you'll understand why changes in the way administrative charges are distributed to the City of Trail, who is the major contributor across the region, in the East End and in the sewer service, has to be very concerned because it impacts the city the greatest. My job, as I see it, is to control the costs so the city is in the best financial position it can be. Here are some of the numbers at the present time with the revisions, except for administration now, which needs to be updated. Administrative services are up 75.54 or 1.37%, and the cost for the city is $1,661.88. And this will probably change once the reversals occur. Solid waste service is up 28,279, and this cost for the city is 21%, which is 6,221. This is a 2.0% increase, which is down from 5.2% increase under the system where administrative costs were charged to the service. This saved us thousands of dollars. The increased cost would have been over $130,000 additional, and we would have had to pay 22.1% of that. So once that cost is reversed, it makes quite a difference. The 9/11 service, which is region-wide, is up only 88,333, or 2.45%, and we pay 22.5% of this, which is $1,749, and this is also down now because of the change in the way the calculation was made. The 700 sewer service is down considerably because of the recalculation of the administrative fee. The fee went down from $117,000 to $47,000. Now, this is considerable because we happen to pay 69.3% of the cost of the 700 service. I think this illustrates probably most clearly why the policy, which was in the initial budgets, is so dramatic for the City of Trail. it would have raised our costs by tens of thousands in 2021 and once again hundreds of thousands in 2022 to 2025. We were able to reach a compromise at just below 2% from the 2.9 originally proposed, and this left us enough money in reserve to cover any contingencies and also paid for all of the upgrades for the pumping stations. Just as the indication, the board fee under this proposed policy would have gone from $117,000 in 2021 to $172,000, or $51,975 more in just 1 year. Again, we would have had to pay 69.3% of this total cost. This is administrative time. So on this service, we would then be paying 3 times the rate for administrative time in the sewer service than we would pay if it was attributed to the general government at 22.1. And that is why this policy was used in the original budget calculations, because it impacted our city so dramatically. East End Recreation and Culture will be 0% increase, and pending the sale of the building, the community center, that will be hopefully sold to Selkirk, we would expect the cost to drop to $115,161 for 2022. And this money then could be just redistributed into the East End services, and the $600,000 in savings would result in the savings for the City of Trail of $240,000 a year. East End Transit, this budget was up $9,977, but by a motion by Rosalind, seconded by me, went through to take the $9,977 out of reserves. We have a 0% increase for 2021. And this saves the city another $4,000. We have ample room in the budget for upgrades, and we have allocated substantial money, tens of thousands of dollars, for the upgrades, installations, and purchases of new bus shelters across the East End without increasing the budget 1 cent. The fire service is the next issue, and administrative wanted an increase of $91,633, or 2.49%. This was discussed a number of times, and I held a position along with Rosalind and Area A that this increase was too much for 2021, considering that last year we transferred $700,000 from the dam revenue into the fire service. So we had a motion to come forward to reduce it by $27,000, but we're still able to maintain the training ground for the fire service. This training ground and the building that it needs will be paid for over the next 3 years out of reserves. And this brings the budget down to about 1.7%, which is still a great deal considering the budget is so huge at now over $5 million. This leaves them with $752,000 in reserves for 2020, moving to $1,013,000 by the end of 2021 in order to purchase the new fire engine. Well, hopefully any borrowing. Concern was expressed by Area A that if 2% or 2.5% was applied every year to this fire service budget, it would become unsustainable within a few years. Victims' assistance increased 0.33%, or $237, so it costs us $90. The cemetery budget increased 0.3% for $1,755, and it will cost the city about only $700. And just a point of information, every motion went through at 7-0 with no dissenting votes. There were no dissenting votes at the utilities, at the board, or at the East End. Everyone contributed to try to keep the budgets as low as possible for 2021, and for that I thank everyone region-wide, but specifically in the East End. One of the last motions to go through, proposed by me and seconded by Ali Grieve, was to transfer $150,000 a year every year until all of the bus shelter programs are paid for and all of the costs for the downtown transit exchange are paid for. We know that the downtown exchange will cost the East End at least $400,000, so this will save the city $160,000 alone. We further estimated to complete all of the work across the East End for the purchase of the new bus shelters, the maintenance of some of them, and the installation costs will be over $300,000 over the next 4 years. And this motion, if it passes at the board level on the 25th, will save the city, save the East End $700,000 in total, because we won't have to tax for it, and will save the City of Trail $280,000 in total over the next 4 years. This motion also passed 7-0. As long as the East End votes together, whether on a regular corporate vote or by weighted vote, the motion should pass on the 25th and be incorporated into the budget. The budget will have to be finalized on the 26th from the East End, but other budgets, which are major budgets that are region-wide, along with a sewer budget, have been approved by the board. All of them have been approved with no dissenting vote after they were adjusted back to the regular way of calculating the budgets prior to 2021. And that's a major issue because once you had the budgets recalculated back to the original way that they were supposed to be calculated, they came in line. Council won't need to write anything down because I'll be putting this on the reading file, and I probably will be forwarding it to you after Barb finishes the final calculations after the meeting on the 25th. I hope you can see quite clearly that the increases are minimal and most of the budgets have been held down as much as possible, many of them to 0%. This is only possible when you have the consideration of the East End Committee and of the board in general. And thank you very much. I know it was lengthy, but I'll send it out to you and it'll be easier to deal with. And I do want to thank the board particularly for the way they handled the budget process, because it's going to be really quite controlled this year. But if all the motions go through, we're going to save a substantial amount of money into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's my report. Thank you.
Any questions for Councillor Kashoni?
Just one quick one, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
Robert, has there been any more discussion regarding the secondary treatment, the sewage treatment plant?
Is that to me, Sandy?
Yeah, I've heard nothing.
That's all set. We've got all the planning money set, and the budget's up hardly at all. So we had reserves there, Sandy. So we, instead of taxing again, and you know I don't want to tax anytime when I don't have to tax if it's there. So we took the reserves, we did all the upgrades to the pumps, the pumping stations, and we put enough money down in for all the planning. And we're supposed to get confirmation in March.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Any other questions for Councillor Kashoni? Councillor Jones?
Robert, I was wondering where the emergency response coordinator's position would be based out of.
It'll be based out of here right now. And but you see, the reason the budget went up so much is because they wanted to hire a second person. So just to clarify that, Area E, Rossland and Trail voted against hiring a second person permanently. We wanted to hire a contract like we had before, but the administrator of that thing wanted to have a permanent position. So when we put that permanent position in, both of those people will be here, but they would be dispatched into the boundary. Most of the cost for emergency management always comes out of the boundary. Very, very little cost comes out of the East End.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for all the work that you're doing on the board for us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions? I'll just have my reports. So we had 2 meetings that kind of dovetailed into each other. A harm reduction grant meeting, which is moving the harm reduction grant process forward, where the committee is going to be making an awareness video around communication and understanding in our vulnerable population and homeless population. And this is being led by Interior Health and their group. Next, there was a safety task force meeting, followed shortly after. We did our usual roundtable of all our stakeholders. And what we are going to follow up on is the Chamber they are interested in a security walk initiative, which we are going to talk about this week further to kind of flesh that out to see if we can do some work around that. And that was brought forward by the Chamber Representative Wenman. And then we also are going to look a bit deeper into what the City of Penticton is doing regarding their scope of their public education strategy. There was a lot of interesting items in there. And we just want to take a look at that. There's no use recreating the wheel if we don't have to do some public education. So we are going, those are our two main, I guess, items that we're going to be talking about on Wednesday of this week. So it's a little bit unusual for us to have two task force meetings so close together, but the group was really motivated to talk about these two items, and there was some work we felt that we could get going on them. So we're meeting 2 times in a month, which is awesome. Now, we also had a Trail Health and Environment Committee meeting. This was the first of our year. And what we did with this one was we had a sulfur dioxide primer. So sulfur dioxide is becoming more important when we're considering emissions from tech. It is not new to the Ministry of Environment. It's new to our program, where we're bringing it into our program in a more fulsome way. So we did a roundtable presentation with the Ministry of Environment, Health, which is our IH Medical Health Officer, Tech. Those were our 3 panelists. And then we followed that by Q&A. And what it was designed for was for the Trail Health and Environment Committee to get them to a position where they can understand more fulsomely what SO2 is all about and what the impacts are on the environment and health. Because what we want to do through the Air Quality Working Group is we want to put out resources to the group. And part of what the Trail Health and Environment does, Trail Health and Environment Committee as a whole does, is they look at the resources and vet them and approve them. And so it was really felt that the Trail Health and Environment Committee have some baseline level of understanding of what they would be advancing and reviewing for our community members. So it's one of the first steps to bring SO2 into the forefront with the Trail Health and Environment Committee. And it was nice to have that panel presentation work so well over Zoom and putting people into rooms. There was year-end reviews done from several of the agencies and reporting. And with respect to the remediation programs for soil and soil testing, it is expected that the programs are going to go forward in 2021. They will still do any COVID protocols that they had to in 2020. COVID protocols did slow down the work a little bit, and part of it was that some of the persons who were interested in getting their yards remediated and who qualified, they did not want personnel and workers on their yards. So we'll touch base with them again this year to see if they are interested in moving those programs forward for their yard and the remediation. So soil testing, soil remediations are going to go forward. All the other programs are going to go forward, and it will all be COVID friendly, and we'll follow all provincial health officer orders to get the work done. So we were very, very happy, considering the state of the pandemic, how much uptake we had in our programs. And we're looking forward to a great 2021. And does anyone have any questions? No? Okay, great, thank you. The next item, which is number 6, is the consent agenda. So it is the United Way of Trail and District United Way movement. So the recommendation is for the consent agenda to be received. Does anyone want to make that motion?
So moved, Robert.
Councillor Kashoni, Councillor Dobie, does anyone want to pull this out for discussion? Councillor Dobie, go ahead.
Once this is finalized and they're getting in, I guess, established in the direction in which they're going to go, I'd like us to request that my mind's gone blank, from United Way come and present to council.
Naomi McKimmey.
Naomi, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. New business, Councillor Santori, I think you had an item of new business.
Thank you, Your Worship. About 3 weeks ago, I received an email from a group out of Calgary, and some lived in Vancouver, and I believe one in the Okanagan. And it was regarding the 60th anniversary of the Trail Smoke Eaters, which is coming up on March the 12th, celebrating their 60th anniversary of their World Championship victory. In their discussion, in that email to me, they have attempted to contact they have made contact with the Vancouver Canucks. However, we haven't heard back, but it is at the Vancouver Canuck office being considered, and that's to wear the Trail Smoke Eater jersey during the warm-up on a televised hockey night in Canada on March the 13th. We don't know that that's going to happen, but also press releases have been sent out and letters to Squire Barnes of Global, The National, Ron McLean of Rogers Sportsnet, just to try to get some publicity and recognition, not only for the accomplishments of the Trail Smoke Eaters, but as well to give the community some media coverage as well. And one of the suggestions that was brought up, which I'm going to raise at this moment, is as we start to age and grow older, they don't want to see the legacy of the smoke eaters dwindle away. And therefore have asked if council would consider doing a proclamation, an annual proclamation that would take place on March the 12th of each year, commemorating the accomplishment of the trails of the 1939 team, as well as the 1961 team, and to proclaim March the 12th as Trail Smoke Eaters World Hockey, we'll have to come up with the name, but Trail Smoke Eaters World Hockey Championship Team Day. Something along that line. And if council supports that request for the proclamation, then I believe it would be Sarah Benson who would probably draft the proclamation that would be brought forward to council for approval prior to March 12th, the meeting before that. So this is just a bunch of former trailites who want to make sure that the Trail Smoke Eater legacy continues on indefinitely, and are hoping that council will support their request for this proclamation. And there will also, Sarah is planning also to do something from the Historical Society on their webpage, and further, and I think Andrew's probably doing something, and I know the Trail Smoke Eaters are as well. So if council is, well, I'm going to make the motion, I guess, that we direct staff to proceed with the proclamation and have it prepared for the council meeting just prior to March the 12th.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions on this? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks.
Any other new business? Seeing none. Okay, so motion for adjournment.
Moved.
Councillor Dobie.